All right, today we're going to jump into Solana and the ecosystem that could be driving your gains into the 10x zone. This could be some tasty stuff for you guys. So jump right in. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. Today we're going to get into Solana a little bit deeper on really understanding the ecosystem and how some of these projects are moving, what the new Solana conference is going to be in terms of its future, and a little bit more around charting some of the special projects that I think are ones to watch for sure. Before we get started though, let's get into our sponsor today, and that of course is Prime XBT. This is an exchange that is kind of a do-it-all for you. What you can do is trade Bitcoin. You can also do altcoins on there. You've got S&P 500, gold, Euro, USD. Reason I like Prime XBT, or the advantage of it, is it kind of combines a lot of different trading and exchange applications into one. And another cool thing that they've done, they've added a ton of crypto trading pairs in the addition of Cardano, Polkadot, Solana, Uniswap, Dogecoin, Chainlink, and of course they're also bringing back Ripple onto the platform. They also have some cool aspects around leverage trading of a 1 to 20 on margin, and then you can do a 1 to 10 on co-vesting. And just to give you an example about what co-vesting does, is it's basically ability to take your idle assets and give yourself some yields on this. So much like if you've parked, this is another advantage, because if you're using maybe a Celsius or something like that, and that's the only thing you're using Celsius for, this is where Prime XBT can kind of come into it. So make sure and use the code PAUL50+ and our link below, because you're going to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit, especially in this area. So click all the links below, check out the content below. You can kind of understand where Prime XBT is going. All right, so let's get into today's topic, and that of course is Solana and the top projects that really are breaking down what the Solana ecosystem looks like, but also where some of these ecosystem projects are going to be going. And we're going to get into one special one that I think you guys are going to like. There's many to watch, and there's a lot to kind of keep an eye on. I think everybody, if you are tracking most of these heavy movers, whether it's Polkadot, Polygon, Solana, these infrastructures within these blockchains are really where the secret is. It's where the juice, it's where the 10x's are made. And I think a lot of times people forget that really the primary token, whether it's Solana or maybe you're trading on Polkadot right now as it's popping, that's a great investment, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it's a traditional altcoin play. But the real potential here, if you are a bit of a degen, you are a bit of a risk taker, then you can definitely go in this direction. Before we get into this though, this is a market mover, and market movers are very simple. We'll pull together data, our own research, and we'll give an analysis on what we think we would do in reference to what our strategies are around cryptocurrency in general, some of what we're seeing in blockchain technology investing. But it's not investment advice for you. The best thing here is it's getting you moving in the right direction. So if you look at the first thing with Solana, is this project, or I should say their event called Breakpoint. Now Breakpoint is essentially a place that all of the community is going to happen. It's going to happen on November 7th, just this weekend, over in Lisbon, Portugal. And of course, if you look at the speakers here, you've got Sam Bankman there, of course, of FTX, a big friend of theirs. Anatoly, obviously the CEO and founder of Solana Labs. Really quite a star-stellar group, including Jeremy Allaire, which is the CEO and chairman of Circle. That's USDC. For you guys, if you're not following what's done, you should check out our video on Circle, because we did a video that really goes into kind of the ecosystem of what Circle is trying to do from an infrastructure point on stablecoins, and it's a really good video, I think, that helps people get their heads around that. And there's just so many great speakers here. I'm looking at Raj is coming in. He's the COO of Solana. You've got Lightspeed Venture Partners, which is where they get a ton of investments coming over from kind of this ecosystem of really these upstarts, because that's what you've got to be able to do, is kind of connect the dots with a lot of these projects, especially as they come out of the chute. Many cases, if you have a great program around something like an ecosystem, or a program that really kind of matches up what Solana is doing with some of these co-founders and founders that are starting these new projects, it really kind of helps move those projects along. And we're going to get into each of those. These are 5 projects that I thought were kind of interesting. Before we get into these, I want to go into some of these cool ones that are, you've probably heard us talk about a few of these. Star Atlas, of course, is one of these. It's the first Solana's top project is Star Atlas. It's a notable gaming project. Many expect Star Atlas is going to beat the gaming giant Axie Infinity. I don't know about that. I will say Star Atlas is a excellent one to watch as it starts to move out. So you definitely want to put this on your watch list in terms of where it's going. Another one here is Raydium. Raydium is a Uniswap-like automated market maker. These are AMMs on Solana's blockchain, and the platform has the highest TVL on Solana, which tells me a lot. When you look at where total value locked is going with many projects, it usually is an indicator of how a project is going to do. And Radium is one that I would keep my eye on very quickly. Let me kind of scroll through. There's another one on here that I really like. Mango Markets. This is another one. Mango Markets is a decentralized cross-margin trading platform whose TVL has also been exploding. Built on Solana, it enables users to use up to 5x leverage with lightning fast. You can actually use this right now. So if you're interested in going this direction and using a kind of a swap type market out there, Mango is a great one to jump into, but you do need the Solana wallet, of course, and that is the Phantom wallet. So make sure and jump on that. There's some others out there, Soulflare and et cetera, that are available within the Solana ecosystem. The other one that I like is Oxygen. This one is an interesting one as well. It's the last of Solana's top projects. It's a liquidity protocol built on Solana that brings kind of a Wall Street proposal to a decentralized environment. So like other liquidity protocols on Ethereum, like Aave, which enables other investors to yield on their tokens. That's kind of why I think this project has some very interesting opportunity. Within the ecosystem, though, there are so many, and I want to show you, just to show you how big the ecosystem really is. If you go over to solana.com, just /ecosystem, you're going to quickly get into all the different companies that are really going at it. Notice here this little bit of DeFi news right here, FTX and Alameda Research choose Solana. That was another piece. Again, you've got Sam Bankman-Fried, the billionaire of FTX, that of course is part of this deal. And again, transactions since inception right there, 4.3 billion on what they're doing there. Let's take a look at some of the DeFi projects to get into some of these. Let me click on that and jump back to DeFi right there. So you can kind of see what's coming. This is a great kind of what to watch. It gives you kind of a list of items that maybe you want to look at. There's Synchrony and on-chain co-trading and composable index protocol with friendly Solana marketplace approach. These are the kind of things that I like, because this is typically where you'll go in to start kind of doing your general research on some of these early stage projects, and you kind of see how they're doing a lot of their kind of organization. You've got multi-chain only one, which I think is going to be a big area because there's such a need for that right now. Obviously, Metaplex, 49 projects going in that. Exchanges, 33 projects. DEX is 41. DeFi is the big one. Let's jump over to DeFi. And you can kind of see 116 projects over there. So a ton of developers. And that's really what Breakpoint is about, is bringing all these developers together, trying to work on expanding the ecosystem for the development engine to help a lot of these projects get off the ground and also kind of make their next step into where this is going. So that's the thing to watch when you see, and I think we're going to see Solana, not only the token Solana pop during and as we lead up to what's happening at Breakpoint. I think some of the projects within Solana are definitely going to get going as well. And we'll kind of show you a little bit about that, but I want to jump over to Radium, which is the one we're going to chart today. And this, of course, is, as I said, is an AMM. Let me zoom up on that a little bit. Liquidity provider built on the Solana blockchain for the Serum DEX. Now, if you've not had a chance to get in and take a look at Serum, you should probably do some research on that. It is kind of a first mover advantage within Serum, so it'll be a very integral part of bringing in new and existing projects and protocols into the ecosystem. That's why I think this one is very interesting, and the Ray token will become the foundation for enabling further development with partners in its own platform as a whole. So I think that in itself, because it's got the ability to kind of bring all these kinds of projects to light, really kind of expanding the ecosystem, Radium is one of the few that I really, well, I shouldn't say few, one of the leaders of the few that I'm watching within the ecosystem. There's so many, but you have to narrow these down. And that's kind of one thing I would recommend to you guys. If you're really into research, you're really trying to understand how an ecosystem works, jump into it and take a look at it deeper as you go through it. Whether you use CoinGecko or maybe a CoinMarketCap and you sort by the categories and go into all of the ecosystems, or just jump over to solana.org and jump that way too, because there's plenty of research out there. The key is understanding which of the projects, because you can really get lost quickly, which of the projects that are most interesting. So what I always recommend is doing this right here. Go over to their platform identifier and just kind of look at the project things that you would be interested in. For instance, if you're into DeFi, then this would be what I would be looking for. And there are a ton of very interesting projects within DeFi that have, I think, a lot of opportunity here. And let me just kind of scan through some of these. You can view more. It just keeps kind of flowing in there. So you've got Ratio Finance. That's one I've been looking into. And then here's Gears. This is another one. This is an app for DeFi. And then there's another one that I'm very interested in, but I haven't seen it yet. Oh, there it is, Solend. So this is the autonomous interest rate machine for Solana. This one is another one that starts to pique my interest. And this is typically what I'll do. Now, you can spend a lot of time with these projects in researching these and kind of get lost down the rabbit hole. So just kind of pick a few that you're into, take a look at some of them, check the news on them, take a look at their social media aspects, if they have it, how large is the crowd on social, because that's usually going to generate at least a little bit of an understanding, because that means others like you are out there researching it and getting into it, much like what you're going to see around Raydium. So Raydium is a good example of why that is going to go. I want to jump over to Raydium's chart and show you quickly of where this is flowing. And if you look back here, Raydium, again, brand new project. You can kind of see its movement right here. Sentiment we pulled back here in July just to see or take a look at its real doldrum period, meaning the great accumulation period in which you were able to really grab Raydium. Raydium was still getting a sentiment in the 60 mark. Now, 60s for what we do is still a decent social media score and a decent sentiment score. The amplification is a little soft, but it's about to break 60 at that time. This, as I said, this is back in and on July 20th. And it was at 5981, which is still a respectable amplification score. And it kind of identified itself a little bit here. Now, if you were below 50, you wouldn't see this kind of movement at all. But here we go. As the march goes along, we got this nice little rise here. We pulled this sentiment range right here from this top, which was on September 13th, to this bottom right here, 30th of September. Sentiment had popped quite a bit from there. And if you look at where sentiment was at 60 right here, and now you're looking at a 70 and an amplification score of 7109. Now, what does that mean? When you see 7109, that is a good example of where we're going to start seeing some potential movement here. And it's kind of falling within the cone. It is a little tight right here. This tells me that it's the amount of data that we have available. Again, this is a project that is just getting its legs under it. So this may end up being one of those that could be very interesting going forward. So as you're looking at these kind of projects, and if you take a look at this one all the way out to, looks right around end of December, we're kind of seeing this at around a $15 mark, up from its $11. So it could be a slow mover unless we see big pops coming from what's going to happen at the Breakpoint conference. If we see some of that in terms of new innovations or new aspects of partnerships being formed, which I think is probably going to be a big part of that, Raydium could do some deals with someone. And also, remember, it's an ecosystem for the ecosystem for Solana. That's the kind of thing I think that would drive this one into another high point. So this is one to really keep an eye on if you are watching the Solana ecosystems. And these, again, all these ecosystems that drive under these chains that have, one, good fundamentals, have good user groups and or communities that are surrounded by these, and have some real use case in their roadmap. Those are the key ones to really kind of keep your head close to in terms of where the potential might be. And then, of course, you can even go off the grid and jump into some of these that are moving in places like, let's say for instance, you want to get into PancakeSwap or getting into utilizing your MetaMask and using some Binance Smart Chain stuff. This is kind of the evolution that you'll end up with, is study these kinds of things first, start to expand your knowledge of where you want to go in terms of your investment strategy. Because some people will look at, and there's different ways to go. You can stay with the blue chip projects, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, let's say Solana in this particular case. And those are very good projects. They're most likely going to see 2x, maybe 3 and if you look at Solana, maybe a 4 to 5x during this bull run. But the projects that are underneath these, whether the altcoins, which you might see a 5 to 10x, and then you have the real degenerate type projects that are where you really get risky, micro caps and mid-market caps, which are under, say, 200 million, micro caps under maybe 50 million. That's when you really get into a scenario where you have to get very, very risky, but also you have to explore a lot more to get out there and acquire some of those projects and tokens. So this is kind of your first step in that direction, is getting into some of these ecosystems within these massive chains like Solana, Polkadot, Polygon, etc. Again, if you guys are watching us or listening to us over on the podcast right now, the number one thing you can do, of course, is jump over here to the YouTube channel and you'll get a chance to see some of these charts and some of the things that we share with you. The other thing I want you to do is jump into the Diamond Circle, because it is absolutely free. We're actually going to be doing weekly giveaways, or hopefully we stay on weekly giveaways on our live streams. I'm not sure if we're going to do it midweek and or end of week, but we will be picking a live stream to be able to do some sort of giveaway, whether it is a digital asset token or maybe an NFT. We're getting a ton of partners coming in. We might start giving away some courses, all kinds of things that are only available to you guys, and that is the Diamond Circle. Of course, if you want to reach me, you can hit me up on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.